You ever smell smoke and feel your whole world tilt? That's how it started for me. A gray haze curling over my soybean fields, like a storm cloud that didn't belong. I was driving back from the co-op, my Tuesday ritual since I hung up my fireman's helmet 5 years ago and took over my dad's old farm on Miller's Bend, when I saw it smoke black and mean, rising from the edge of my land where it butts up against those fancy HOA houses. I'm Jake Harlan, by the way, just a guy trying to keep the dirt under my boots honest. That morning was crisp, the kind of autumn day that makes you think the world still got some good in it. But as I gunned my beat-up Chevy down the dirt road, my gut knew something was wrong. My hound, Rusty, was whining in the passenger seat, ears flat like he could sense it too. By the time I skidded to a stop at the gate, the air stung my throat, and I saw it flames tearing through my best field, the one I'd spent months coaxing into rows of green that were just starting to gold. I ran toward the fire, heart hammering like it did back when I was kicking down doors for the fire department. The heat hit me like a wall, soybeans curling into ash faster than I could blink. And there, just beyond the chain-link fence that separates my farm from the Willow Grove HOA, stood Linda Prescott, arms crossed, blonde hair pulled tight, staring at the blaze like it was a damn TV show. Her silk scarf fluttered in the breeze, too perfect for the chaos. I shouted through the smoke, "Linda, you call 911?" She didn't even flinch, just tilted her head and said, "Why would I?" "It's your mess, Jake." I swear, my fist balled up so tight I thought my knuckles would crack. But I didn't have time to argue. I sprinted back to the truck, grabbed the old radio I still keep in a glove box, old habits, and called it in. "This is Jake Harlan. We've got a fire in the soybean field off Miller's Bend, near Willow Grove. Light winds, dry crops, send engines now." My voice stayed steady, but my hands were shaking. I wasn't losing this field, not to fire, not to her. See, Linda and I go way back, and not in a good way. When she moved into Willow Grove 3 years ago, she showed up at my gate with a plate of store-bought cookies and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was all charm, talking about community standards and how my farm could enhance the neighborhood aesthetic. I saw through it in 10 seconds. She wasn't here to make friends. She wanted control. Linda climbed the HOA ladder fast, and soon enough the letter started. My tractor was too loud. My barn was an eyesore. One time, they claimed my irrigation ditch was a health hazard because a kid found a frog in it. A frog. I ignored it at first. My land's zoned agricultural, older than their cookie-cutter houses by a century. But Linda didn't care about history. She cared about power, about making sure every blade of grass in Willow Grove bent to her will. When I turned down her invitation to join some beautification committee, things got nasty. She stood at my gate with 2 other HOA folks, Mark, who always looked like he'd rather be golfing, and Susan, who smiled like she was auditioning for a toothpaste ad. "Jake," Linda said, "we're just asking for a little compromise. Plant some nice shrubs along the fence, maybe scale back the crops. It's about property values." I laughed, not mean, just honest. "Linda, this isn't a petting zoo. These fields feed people." Her smile twitched, and I saw something cold in her eyes, like I'd just declared war. After that, it was open season. Letters every week about my non-compliant fence, my unsightly equipment, even my dog Rusty for barking a squirrel. Then came the rumors. Neighbors I'd known for years stopped waving. Kids stopped coming by for the free zucchini. I'd leave at the gate. Someone spray-painted dirtbag on my mailbox. I filed a report, but the sheriff just shrugged. Small town, no proof. I put up motion cameras after that, but Linda was clever, always staying just out of frame. Then the fire happened. By the time the engines roared in, the flames had eaten half an acre. My old buddy Tom, now the fire chief, jumped out of the rig and scanned the burn line. He didn't say much, just pointed to the fence and muttered, "Started right there, didn't it?" I nodded. He raised his binoculars, following the smoke trail straight to Linda's pristine lawn. Footprints were burned into her grass, right up to the fence. "That's no accident," he said. I didn't need to tell him who I suspected. He knew. The crew got the fire under control in 20 minutes, thanks to the fire break I dug last spring. I walked the scorched edge afterward, kicking through ash, and found Ida melted canister, the kind you'd buy at a hardware store for a fire pit. Not mine. I bagged it with a gloved hand, took photos, and handed it to Tom. The crew found more 3 canisters total, all planted in my field, wired with cheap timers. This wasn't a prank. This was arson. I didn't confront Linda. Not yet. Instead, I went to my barn, opened the fireproof safe, and pulled out the memory card for my secret weapon, a thermal camera I'd hidden in an old scarecrow my nephew named Captain Crunch. Don't laugh. That scarecrow saw everything. At 2:07 a.m., a figure in a hoodie slipped through a cut in the fence, carrying a bag. They crouched, sparked a flame, then another. 12 minutes they stayed, watching the fire spread before slipping back to the HOA side. I zoomed in. The walk, the tilt of the head, the red sleeve peeking out from the hoodieite was Linda. I called my lawyer, Ed Callahan, a no-nonsense guy who'd spent 20 years as a military prosecutor. He listened, sipping coffee, then said, "You've got her, Jake. But don't do anything stupid. Back up the footage, sit tight, and let me talk to the fire marshal." I did. The next morning, Fire Marshal Ruiz showed up, took one look at the evidence, and started taping off the fence line. They found a chemical trail gasoline, clear as day starting in Linda's yard. Her trash bin had 2 more empty canisters, same brand, still with the store stickers. When they knocked on her door at 3 a.m., I was watching from my field, arms crossed, rusty, growling low. Linda opened the door in a red robe, hair a mess, trying to play innocent. "I was asleep," she snapped, pointing at me. "He's the one you should be questioning." But when Ruiz showed her the canister, she slipped. "That's not mine. I threw out weeks ago." The whole street heard it. Her neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, was filming from her porch. Linda froze, hands shaking, and followed Ruiz to the patrol car. Not in cuffs, not yet, but close. The neighborhood changed after that. People who'd avoided me started whispering. Mark from the HOA came by, looking like he'd aged a decade. "I didn't know she'd go that far," he mumbled. "She said your farm was dragging down our property values." I just stared. "You signed the letters, Mark. You didn't ask questions." He slunk off, muttering about sprinklers. The civil suit hit like a freight train. Ed laid it all out in court harassment, defamation, property damage. The judge, a tough old gal named Carter, didn't blink as we showed the footage, the canisters, the HOA's own minutes where Linda called my farm a fire hazard weeks before the blaze. Her lawyer tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but when Ed dropped emails showing Linda funneling HOA funds to her buddy for fake soil tests, the room went quiet. Linda's hands stopped fidgeting. She just stared at the floor. The judge ruled in my favor, $132,000 for crop loss, legal fees, and repairs. The HOA was ordered to back off my land for good. Linda's criminal case came next: felony arson, trespassing, fraud. She took a plea. 2 years in a low-security prison, 5 years probation. Her house went into foreclosure a month later. The HOA board fell apart, resignations, audits, neighbors suing over petty fines Linda had pushed. But something else happened, something I didn't expect. People started showing up. Old Mrs. Jenkins brought me a peach cobbler. A kid named Ellie gave me a soybean sprout she'd grown from one of my seeds. "I wanted to see if it'd work," she said, shy. Even Susan, the HOA smile queen, showed up with coffee, saying we should have stopped her. I didn't forgive, not outright, but I nodded. Fields heal. So can we. That spring I replanted. Neighbors helped Mark with a shovel. Ellie with her little watering can. The soybeans came up strong, like they knew the fight was over. I hung my old fire captain's badge on a gate post, letting it catch the sun. It felt right, like a piece of me and the land were whole again. But here's the thing, Linda wasn't evil, not in her mind. She thought she was saving her perfect little world, thought my dirt and sweat were the problem. And that's what keeps me up sometimes. How many Lindas are out there, thinking they're right, ready to burn something down just to feel in control? So what do you think? Was this just one woman's vendetta? Or is there something bigger here about power, about neighbors, about who gets to decide what's right? Drop a comment. Tell me your take. Have you dealt with an HOA nightmare? Or maybe you've seen a community turn on itself. I'm reading every word, so let's talk.